Hey there YouTube. In this week's episode we're going to take a peek under the covers and see exactly what's in this box that we call a desktop computer. This is a pretty typical desktop computer from around 2013-14. To be honest, not a lot has changed in the last 10 or more years as far as the basics of hardware go. I'm just going to go through and point out each of the major components, what it does, and finish with a few tips that might be useful to you. Starting in the top left corner, we have the PSU, or power supply unit. This unit takes the main supply in through this cable to the computer. Main supply is 240 volt in Australia. It could be 110 volt in other parts of the world. And there's a switch here on the back that you need to flick if you're taking your computer to another country with a different voltage system. It's also worth knowing that this is the only part of the machine that contains lethal voltage. Its job is to step that 240 or 110 volt down to these smaller cables that are used to power the computer. These run at a very safe 3.3, 5 and 12 volt. These cables snake all over the computer, but the majority of them connect directly to the motherboard. The motherboard is the very large board that covers the floor of the system, as it's lying at the moment, and is the center of everything in the computer. Attached to the motherboard is the main processor itself, hidden under this big fan here. The processor, or CPU, Central Processing Unit, does all of the calculations that go on in the computer and make it run. In a modern PC, it can compute 3 to 4 million computations per second, and there might be more than one processor on the chip itself. Here are some actual chip images, as it would be a real pain to take this one out. Over here to the right is the RAM, or memory. These banks of chips come out fairly easily and provide the thinking space for the computer. More RAM means the more things a computer can do at once. 4 to 16 gig of RAM tends to be the standard in most machines these days. To the left of the CPU are the rear panel connectors, which you can see from the back look like this. This is where much of the computer's connection to the outside world goes, especially USB for keyboard and mouse and other peripherals. Some computers may connect the display here as well. There's also the network cable. Back inside and below the CPU are a series of slots of various sizes, shapes and colours. These allow various cards to be plugged in with high-speed access to the CPU and memory. The most common of these is a graphics card. This is a graphics card plugged in here, which does some of the processing and calculations around displaying on screen and freeing the CPU up to do other things. This is very important in graphic intensive applications, especially games. With a graphics card plugged in, the motherboard display connectors are usually disabled and the display connected directly to the graphics card here. Along the front of the computer we have a series of bays for storage. Hard drives that store the programs, documents and data that we use on the computer. A desktop hard disk looks like this and contains spinning platters of metal or glass that store the information. Newer, faster solid-state drives, or SSDs, use banks of memory chips to do the same job, but tend to be both smaller capacity and higher price. Many new systems come with both. A smaller SSD for the operating system, usually Windows 10, and some programs, and a spinning hard disk for the user's data, pictures and files. Up the top is the DVD drive/burner, which, while they're used less and less, can still be useful for installing software and creating backup disks. There are also a variety of fans in various places on the computer. This one has 3, one on the CPU, one on the rear case, and another in the power supply. These are designed to circulate the air, pushing the hot air out of the case, drawing cool air in through vents in the front. And this is where I'll offer my first tip. It seems obvious that if you leave the case off, more air can get in and keep the computer cooler, but this is actually not true. The case is specifically designed generally to draw air in the front and have it flow through the case and out the back. Opening the case throws that out completely and can lead to components overheating. This leads to my second tip: dust and overheating. Dust, pet hair, and all sorts of other things can and do build up inside the computer, especially in places like under the CPU fan. This dust can build up into an almost felt-like blanket and cause components to fail. It's been a little controversial, but I've long been an advocate of cleaning the dust out of your computer every year or two. My preference is an air compressor, and you can see a 10-year-old video of me linked above blowing out the dust from a particularly dusty PC. You can also buy cans of compressed air, or better still, take your PC to a trusted professional to have it cleaned out. That's enough for now. Next week I'll take you through a brief version of the same tour of a notebook computer, which contains all the same features in a tighter, less user-friendly package. I hope that was informative. At the Tech Doctor Network, our goal is to help you negotiate the technology maze. I invite you to come back every weekend for new videos, or click the Tech Doctor logo in the bottom right of the screen to subscribe. There's also some more videos up here and down here that you might not have seen. I'm here to help. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.